during the Holocaust, some of the things that we saw defy logic. There's a book called Tzalmavit, Beget Tzalmavit, where the Rav wrote eyewitness stories, things that happened during the Holocaust. You read or hear these stories, it's just baffling that this happened. One of the famous stories in this Sefer is about a woman that had her daughter in the ghetto with the rest of the Jews, and the Nazis, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, would always want to look like they're not murderers, look like the exact opposite, look like they're civilized. They would lead the people into the gas chambers, but all the while saying thank you. They'll always be dressed up, appropriate, polite, but Malach HaMavet inside, sleeping inside each one of them. Now, they enjoyed torturing the Jews to such an extent that it's hard to understand how such a thing could be done by a human being. How could one human being be so evil? One of the examples is that this woman that had a young daughter, the Nazis came to the group and said, okay, there are some, the war is going on, but it looks like your brothers have captured some of our brothers. So we're doing a exchange of prisoners. And we're doing it, they said they want children. So we need to get 22 kids. There's 22 kids in this section. We need all 22 kids. We're going to send them all to Israel so they can bring us back our brothers, our Nazi soldiers. So, some of the parents over there are happy. At least their kids are going to survive this genom. But one woman, I forget her name, I'll remember it later, she didn't believe it. She didn't buy the story. She refused. And the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, were very, very precise with their numbers. Everything was on record. That's how we know. A lot of the information we know from the Nazis. They kept a record of everything. When there's a book in English called "The Doctors from Hell." The Doctors from Hell. It's a different trial that they had after the Holocaust, of trying all of these doctors that had all types of experiments on the Jewish people. All types of things. They were cutting limbs, they were putting stuff in them, throwing them out of a plane, all types of strange, psychotic things. Now, in the trial, they're not like asking the guy, did you do this, did you not do this? They're actually reading him his records of all the things he did. Because everything was documented. What did the person do? What did he feel? Did he die? Did he survive? How many died? Exact numbers. Exact time. Exact location. Who's involved? Who's not involved? Hashem Yachem. So when they're counting these kids, they see there's 21 kids. There's supposed to be 22. They look around, they see, oh, your kid, we need it. He says, no. So the Nazi soldier smiles at, no, lady. It's good for, we're trying to help you out. We're going to take your kid to the rest of the Jewish people. She looks at him. She looks at the Nazi soldier right in the face. Says, you're a murderer. And I don't believe you. You're going to kill my kid. I waited for my kid. I waited for my daughter for 13 years. And I'm not going to let you kill her. I'm not going to give her away. The Nazi looks at her and he says, listen, lady, if I wanted to kill your daughter, I could just shoot her now. Why would I take her from you? If I wanted to kill her, I just kill her right now. Nobody's stopping me. She says that's because you're trying to look nice to everybody else so you could fool more people. But I'm not buying it. You're a murderer, and you're going to stay a murderer. Well, the Nazi didn't like this comment. So within about 3 seconds, that woman was on the ground getting the beating of her life. She wakes up a few days later. She wasn't able to get out of the bed for several days from the massive beating that she got from this Nazi Imach Shimo. After several days, she wakes up, she sees her daughter is gone. She's hysterical, she doesn't want to move, she doesn't want to live. And the other mothers are trying to cheer her up. No, come on, it's going to be okay. Why do you have to be so pessimistic? Your daughter is okay. She's alive. She's with our kids. There's salvation once in a while. There's good news. You don't have to be so pessimistic all the time. And as they're talking to her and trying to cheer her up, the Nazi soldier shows up again. He says, I have a letter. He holds a letter in his hand. He says, I have a letter from your daughter. The mountain gets up. Oh, give me. No. You don't get this letter. You don't get this letter until you act like everybody else. You join the party. Okay, what do you want? He goes, okay, we prepared for you guys a meal. Go have a meal. Start getting back to everybody else. Start complying with everything. Don't mouth off anymore. And then we'll let you read the letter from your daughter. So she got up, which was very difficult from all the pain, but she wanted to read the letter. She got to the place. All of a sudden, there's meat, there's food. Like, whoa, these Nazis became tzaddikim. What happened here? But she's eating. She goes, let me finish the food so I can get the letter. Everybody's eating. Okay. I finished. Give me the letter. She opens the letter. She says, you just ate your daughter. Now this actually happened, Rabotai. To our brothers, to our sisters. It's happened. This is documented. And there's many other stories like it. So for now, it looks like Miriam, the Reshait, from 2,000 years ago, that kicked the altar, was right. She kicked, she's complaining against God, there's no salvation. Many people think that people became heretics, that the majority of people became heretics because of the Holocaust. But that's wrong. Because there are many more stories of people that stayed strong and glued to HaKadosh Baruch Hu despite the Holocaust. One of the Gdolei Ador of that generation that was in the Holocaust wrote a book himself about his and other people's experiences and the Kiddush Hashem that he saw inside the Holocaust. Arav Maivitz. He wrote an experience that he had himself where he had a very famous tzaddik grandfather, and one of his possessions that he had that was most valuable to him was that he had his talit. But he knew that there's no way that the Nazis are going to let him wear a talit. So he turned it into a talit katan, into a tzitzit. And he put it under his clothes in hopes that the Nazis never find this out. But one of the times that inside the Holocaust that they were taking a shower, the Nazis, Yimach Shema, would make sure that each person takes only one uniform. And they would check, there would be a soldier at the entrance, checking each person to make sure he didn't steal a second uniform. Check his body, see that he's not, his thing is not fluffy or something like that, where he's not wearing two of them. Why? Because they want to keep them tortured. They don't want you to be warm. They don't want you to do nothing. Clean, nothing. It's part of the destruction of the morality of the people and the morale of the people. So when he got his clothes on, the Nazi soldier that was a communist prisoner, he was a German communist, former communist, and he was actually a prisoner of the Nazis, but his punishment was not like the Jews, where he was going to be a slave. In fact, he was a guard. He was a guard, a Nazi guard. But he was a communist, anti-God. So when he saw Rav Maivitz, he saw that his uniform looked a little puffy. He writes in his book, he says, and the Nazi says to me, explain to me why your uniform looks like that. Why does it look like that? Why is it puffy? Show me. And of course, I knew I couldn't lie. And I took off my shirt and I showed him that I have my talit. And he says to me, what is this that you have? What is this and why do you have it on? And Rav Maivitz responds to him, he says, this is the uniform of God. The second I finished that sentence, the word God was something that was the last thing that this communist, this Rasha, this Nazi ever wanted to hear. And he started hitting me with no control whatsoever in every part of my body, yelling and screaming at me with rage. How dare you mention the name of God when all of your people are being killed in a strange death right now? They're being tortured in ways that no man has ever seen before. And you dare bring God's name into this? And he starts beating me up and beating me up. And eventually, after every part of my body is bleeding, from his eyes, from his ears, from his mouth, from his legs, everything is bleeding. This Nazi says to him, stand up and give me one explanation of why you still believe in God. Or you will never leave this room. So now what do you tell a communist? What do you tell a Nazi that's looking for every excuse in the world to kill you and your God? Now, if you're a secular person, you pretty much tell the guy, okay, you're going to shoot me here, you're going to shoot me here, because I have nothing to say to you. In fact, even if you're religious, you kept Shabbos, you ate kosher, you learned here and there, but you weren't glued to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your best bet, you're going to say to the guy, you know what, you don't want to believe in him? I don't believe in him. Why, it's pikuach nefesh, leave me alone, I want to live. I don't want to die. You don't have the yeshuva da'at to focus at that point after the guy nearly killed you and almost broke every bone in your body. You're bleeding from every hole and every no hole in your body. You don't have any real answer for this Rasha. What are you going to say to this guy? But if you are glued to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, like some of the tzaddikim, like Rav Maivitz, you had an answer. And he says to him, I'll give you an analogy of what it's like. He says, imagine there is a top surgeon that the world has never seen such a surgeon. He's so good. Everyone wants him to save their life. And he gets a patient that has a critical condition. And he says, I can save him and we just need to operate. And he takes the patient and he puts him on the bed and he looks at a certain body part and he looks at the healthiest part of his body and he decides that this is the part that he needs to cut in order to enter the body. And fix whatever problem is inside. Now, while this top surgeon is cutting the body and preparing everything in order to solve the crisis, a shoemaker happens to pass by, and he sees that there's a older man on top of a younger man that looks healthy, and the older man is cutting up the younger man's body with no mercy whatsoever, with no care in the world. He's just cutting him up like it's a pancake. And he sees that, he notices that this younger man actually has like a part of his body that's maybe looks wounded, but he doesn't understand the logic here. Because the shoemaker says, when I fix my leather shoes and I make the leather shoes, I will never cut the good part. Surely, I'm going to look at the shoe, see the bad part, and cut that one in order to fix it. This old man must be senile. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's cutting the good part. So the shoemaker starts yelling and screaming, "Hey, you don't know what you're doing. Let me take over. You don't know what you're doing. You're cutting the good part. You fool." Rav Reuven says, now do you think that the top surgeon pays attention to the shoemaker? Pays any mind to the shoemaker? Stops the surgery? No. Why? Because he knows that the fool that's making all of these comments, that has all of these questions, is simply an ignorant shoemaker. He says, you see, we may have many questions about why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing certain things, but that doesn't make us question Hashem. It doesn't make us question Him. We're asking why this is happening, but we're not asking whether He's there or not, whether He's the one that's doing it or not. We know He is. And we know that we don't have the answer of why He's doing what He's doing, but that's not a lacking in Him. That's not a flaw in Him. It's only because we are just dumb shoemakers. And to us, we're looking at the operation. We have no idea what's going on. But surely He is doing something to save our life. Most of us could not even come out with an explanation like that, even at our best. Even when we feel greatest, even after we finish the Masechet, or even the entire Shas. Needless to say, when Rav Reuven says this explanation, right after he got a beating that nearly killed him, and he tells us to a communist, you would think, okay, at least he finished with a nice chidush, but he's still going to get killed. But the communist was so impressed. He says to him, you're a clever Jew. You're going to survive this. From now on, every day, you come by my place, and I'm going to give you extra food, the good food that the rest of them don't get, on top of what you already get. You're not like the rest. You're not like everybody else. You're clever. You actually have a reason. You have a reason to exist. You have a reason to believe. You really believe. You're not just saying it. You're not just pretending it. So when we are looking for salvation, Rabotai Karim, it's good. It's good that we look for salvation. It's good that we're looking for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to save us from our troubles, to save us from our loneliness, to save us from our problems with Parnassah, to save us from our Shlom Bayit issues, to save us from all types of issues. It's good. The question is, do we have a reason for Him to save us? Do we believe in Him to such an extent that we know that He exists, that we know that He is God, that we know that He's the one that actually caused the trouble? Do we know it? If we don't, this is some of the things we have to work on.